Okay guys, today we're going to move on to 5.2. We're going to start talking about polynomials, and we're going to add and subtract polynomials today. But before we can add and subtract, let's talk about what a polynomial is. Okay, I'm going to give you some examples of things that are polynomials. 3x minus 5 is a polynomial. 4m cubed minus 5m squared p plus 8 is an example of something that's a polynomial. Negative 5t squared s cubed is another example of a polynomial. So everything that's a polynomial has different terms. Could have maybe one term like the last one. Could have two terms like the first one. It could have multiple terms like the middle one. Okay? But in all my terms, we have numbers and we have exponents. But if you notice that all the exponents are positive. So here's an example of something that's not a polynomial. Okay? Anything with a negative exponent is not a polynomial. The square root of 9 minus x is not a polynomial. So if I have a square root in my problem, I do not have a polynomial. And then if my variable happens to be in my denominator, okay, is another example of things that are not polynomials. In this chapter, we're going to be adding and subtracting polynomials. We're going to be multiplying things that are polynomials, and we're going to be dividing things that are polynomials. Okay, so it's important that you know what a polynomial is. What we're going to do now is we're going to write our polynomials in descending order. When I have you give me an answer, your answer should always be in standard form. Standard form is descending order, where you start with your highest exponent and you work your way down to the lowest exponent. Okay? So if I give you this polynomial, y minus 6y cubed plus 8y to the 5th minus 9y to the 4th plus 12, and I ask you to write it in descending order or standard form, which term would you write first? If descending order is the highest exponent, we're going to start here with this 8y to the 5th. What term would go next then? Your negative 9 to the 4th. And then we would do our negative 6y cubed, then our positive y, and then our positive 12. So when you have an answer, it should always be in descending order or standard form. Okay? Same idea with b. So if you'll write that one in descending order for me, please. Oops. Descending order or standard form, which term would go first? Negative 4m cubed, and your 6m squared, then your positive m, and then your minus 2. So your answer would look like that, in highest exponent to lowest exponent. Okay, so on your test, on your homework, if I ask you to write it in standard form or descending order, that's what it should look like. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is degree. Okay, and what does degree mean? Let me make this a little bit lighter. Oh, it didn't work. There we go. So if I ask you to give me the degree of a polynomial, the degree of a polynomial is the highest exponent. Okay? So if I give you these polynomials, the 9x squared minus the 5x plus the 8, and I ask you for its degree, if degree means the highest exponent, what would the degree be of that polynomial? Well, since the highest exponent is 2, my degree is 2. So if I give you the polynomial 5x and I ask you for the degree, what do you think the degree is there? What exponent goes on that x? It's an invisible 1, right? So the degree is 1. The next one is a little bit tricky because it has a's and b's. So because we're doing degree, and there's not just an a and not just a b, when you do degree, you're going to add the exponents together. So my degree here would actually be 7, 2 plus 5. So if I have multiple letters, multiple variables, I'm going to add the numbers, the exponents together to get the degree. Okay, so degree is highest exponent. All right, so the last thing we're going to do is we're going to simplify polynomials. If I give you this polynomial, 6x plus 5y minus 9x plus 2y, and I ask you to simplify, what can I do to simplify this polynomial? Okay. Well, I see x's and I see y's, so can I combine all my like terms, the x's and the y's? I'm going to put my 6x then with my negative 9x, combining like terms. 6x minus 9x is negative 3x. Then I'm going to put all my y's together. I have a 5y plus a 2y, which gives me a 7y. I can't put an x with a y, so that would be my final answer. If I can, if it's easy to tell, I'm always going to put my answer in standard form and then in alphabetical order if I can. Okay, so the x would go first, then the y would go next. Let's do another one. Okay, on this problem, they're asking me to take these two polynomials and add them together. There's parentheses, but there's really nothing in front of that first set of parentheses that I have to distribute. There's a positive 1 there, but that doesn't change much. So I'm just going to rewrite this first polynomial. Is there anything in front of the second set of parentheses I have to distribute? It's a positive sign, or a positive 1. But when I take a positive 1 and multiply it by negative 8, isn't it still just a negative 8? So the second set of parentheses doesn't change much either. But I wouldn't leave my answer like that. So don't I have like terms that I can combine? Putting it in descending order, standard form, let's start with the highest exponent first. So the highest exponent I see is a to the 5th. I have a 3a to the 5th and a negative 8a to the 5th. So when I combine those, I get a negative 5a to the 5th. What would go next? I have a negative 9a cubed and an 8a cubed. When I put those together, negative 1a cubed. My last one I have is an a to the 2nd, so I have a 4a squared, and then a plus 2 by itself. In descending order, this would be my final answer. Negative 5a to the 5th minus a cubed plus 4a squared plus 2. All right, here's C. How does this one look different than the last one? Is there any difference? This one I'm asking you to subtract them now. So why is it important that I have those parentheses? Because don't I have to distribute this negative through? Oops. Nothing in the first parentheses changes. But I do have to remember to distribute this negative through. So this negative 5 changes to a positive 5. This positive 7 changes to a negative 7. And this negative 8 changes to a positive 8. Now combine like terms and write your answer in descending order, please. Highest exponent first would be my m squareds. I have a negative m squared and a positive 6m squared and a positive 5m squared. That gives me a negative 1m squared. I have a negative 8m and a negative 7m. Together that gives me a negative 15m. And I have a 5 and an 8. Together that gives me a 13. No more like terms. It's in descending order. My final answer is negative m squared minus 15m plus 13. Okay? Will you do this last one, please? This last one is asking you to subtract and then add. Okay? So distribute your negative, combine all your like terms, and let me see what you get. So try this one, please. distribute, that's what I get at first. And when I go to combine like terms, I've got a negative 4x and a 3x, right? So I have a negative 1x. I have a positive 2z squared and a negative 2z squared. What's a positive 2 and a negative 2? Can that cancel out? Oh wait, but don't I have this other z squared back here? So I have a z squared. Then I have a 3m minus a 1m. That's a 2m. But then what's 2m minus 2m? Isn't that just a 0? So the m's go away? So all I have left is this negative x plus z squared. That should be your final answer. On your test, I will ask you to write your answers in descending order. I will ask you about degree, and I will also ask you to add and subtract polynomials. Okay? So you should be able to do all the stuff we did today. Your homework is section 5.2. You're doing page 306. You're doing numbers 41 through 62. 41 through 62. But you can skip 49 and 50. 49 and 50.